Testing, 1, 2, 3, check. 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 Hello again, everybody. I'm Larry Hamilton. Welcome to my YouTube painting channel. Thank you for watching. Today we're going to do an oil painting of a photograph from Jack Bell Photography. It's a scene in Yellowstone National Park. I'm not exactly sure where it is, but it's a snow scene. It's a very interesting composition. It has a creek going right up the middle of the photograph, and it's got two big blocks on the right. It's almost split into quadrants. It's could be a problem, a little bit of a problem to paint if you want to try to make a nice composition out of it. So I'm going to try to talk through some of that and see how we can address some of those problems with certain photographs. It's a beautiful photograph, but I would like to add a little artistic license to it and change it up a little bit. I'm really not going to go to the computer today. I think it's a little bit of a waste of time. I really don't have a good sketch for you. I have a sketch on here, and I'll just go ahead and talk you through that a little bit. You can see the photograph here on the left. These photographs are out on my website. You can download them for your use, for your reference. But this photo, it's a little small. Maybe I can zoom in on it here a little bit and let you see what problems I'm talking about here. There, let's go up. So I have it in black and white, and I have the original here with the grid on it. But if you look at this photo, it's almost split in half by probably where the line of sight or where the horizon line would be. So that gives you the problem of splitting your painting into two halves, which is not a good thing. It's almost also this stream kind of goes right up the middle, so it gives you the problem of splitting your painting vertically as well, and has these two big quadrants of white snow over here. So it's one of those types of photos that if you paint it perfectly like that, it will probably be maybe not the best composition, because you need a little bit of change. You need the center, the horizon line needs to be a little bit off center. Things like this need to be a little bit off center as well, so they don't look like they're just images of each other. So that's sort of just a compositional thing that we'll try to address. The sketch I have on my canvas here, you can see, if I get to my canvas here, you can see I really have I haven't sketched in a lot of detail. I just sort of put in the major lines for the top part of the mountains back there. Here's where the bottom of the mountains are and where the trees will start, and here's where the middle ground line of trees start, and then this is all a big snow bank. This is a big snow bank, and then we have this stream coming down the middle. Has some interesting reflections we're going to try to get in this particular painting, and see how we do with that. So let me go back now to my palette, and I'll show you the paints we're using. We're using a little bit of a subset. We're not using the full paints of the Bob Ross palette. And I've also, since I put that sketch on there with pencil, I used a thing called a workable fixative to spray on it, and that makes it so this graphite, that's the graphite that's on this canvas won't come off into my paint, won't darken my paint down with graphite. So I've been using this for the last few oil paintings where I put a pencil sketch on, and if I keep the liquid white, when I put it on, if I keep that liquid white thin enough, then I will be able to at least see some of these reference lines in here, and kind of keep the painting in the right perspective, the way I want it to look. So anyway, with that, let's go back to the palette. Here's my palette. I have my usual Bob Ross paint brushes. I have my 1-inch blender here. I have this half round brush. I have several fan brushes here you can see that I can use. I've got a few script liners that I may use. I have a filbert here, and then I have some other brushes from Trekell, which are flats. These are synthetic mongoose. They make very good oil brushes. I like to use them when I get into something a little more detailed. I have my palette knife here, and then I have a couple other small palette knives I may use for some of those mountains in the background to put in some of the little dark flecks and that sort of thing. And I have my little blender here. I may use these on some of the snow to sort of soften it out, and in the sky with the clouds. All right, so let's go through the paints. My typical palette here, you see all the names of all the paints I would typically have on this palette. Excuse me. But I've left several off because I don't think we need them for this painting. We have here titanium white, skipping phthalo blue, Prussian blue, midnight black, a little bit of Van Dyke brown, a little bit of dark sienna. We don't have much brown in this painting. Alizarin crimson, I'll use that to get some of my atmospheric perspective when I put in the bottom of the mountains there. Sap green, we have quite a few row of trees across here, so we'll be using green. Skipping cad yellow, there's nothing bright yellow in this that we need. Yellow ochre is going to be my only yellow color. And leaving out Indian yellow and bright red, and still have my ultraviolet for any of those violet colors I want to use. This is a winter scene, so it should have some alizarin crimson and some ultraviolet in it. And very few other colors. So that's my abbreviated palette, and let me set myself up here with put my palette on for you so you can see it and see my canvas, and zoom in a little bit, make sure we're aligned here to so you can see almost the whole thing here. Where are we going? Let's see, there we go. All right, so that looks pretty decent. Like I said, the images, the reference photos are out on my website. There should be links below this video for you to go get them and download them and use them for your purpose. And also, if you're watching live today, I have a chat window open, and if you want to talk to me, you can key a message or a comment into the chat window, and I will periodically check the computer up here by my easel and see if there's a question you have or a comment that I want to respond to. All right, so we're going to get going. I also have my liquid white here. I didn't show you that, but there's my typical plate of liquid white. And we're going to start with this by just putting on this liquid white. I'm going to try to cover this whole canvas with liquid white, and I'm going to try to cover it on a very, very thin so that it doesn't overpower any of the paint that I put on. You can see I'm putting this liquid white on now, and it's going over that fixative. Probably can't see that very well, but I can still see very lightly. I can see those pencil lines underneath, so I know about where those sections of this painting are, and if I keep thinning it out, I can get a little more of those lines to come through. You don't want to have a lot of liquid white. Many people who try to do the Bob Ross technique with liquid white, if you're trying to use any kind of a sketch at all, you need to use something like a fixative over your sketch so that it doesn't dissolve any graphite or any whatever you put on here to make your sketch with, whether it's from a transfer paper or whatever. You don't want it to transfer those colors into any paint you put on. So what I got here now is this thing pretty well covered with liquid white, nice thin even coat of liquid white. Many times when you watch Bob Ross, he already has this step done. He may have it already on his canvas, but he never uses a sketch. So, but he also paints a painting about 4 times before you see him on TV. This is my first and only time I'm going to try this painting, so I have not tried it before. So you're going to see me learn and ad-lib as I go. But let me see if I can zoom in. I don't know if the zoom will even show you, but you can see through this. You can see through that liquid white here. You see that? Because I put it on a very light coat. You should, if you have a light coat, the right coat of liquid white, you should be able to touch it with your finger and just pull off a very little bit like that. And that's about the right amount of liquid white. If you have a big coating of liquid white on your finger, it's too much. So make sure that you get the right amount of liquid white on your canvas, or you're going to be messing up your paints. You'll be mixing your whites in with everything. It'll be hard to control, and it will come out looking worse than you would like it to. I guarantee you that, because I've done it enough times. So this liquid white now is very thin, very light coat, and we're ready to go. Okay, so I'm going to use my Prussian blue. Prussian blue is a very powerful, potent color. I'm going to keep this white in the brush that I have here, and I'm just going to start touching in some of the blue. And it doesn't take much Prussian blue to just turn this liquid white in the brush into a dark blue color. So I'm going to start here, and I'm going to start trying to get this color that I see in the original photo, and that's probably not quite dark enough, but it does thin down. See, as I paint across this liquid white, the liquid white comes in and takes more and more of that blue out of the brush, and it thins it down so that it's not nearly as dark blue as you start with. You think you get it on your brush, you think you have a nice dark coat of blue on that brush, and it is a very powerful blue, but that liquid white just thins it out very nicely, very quickly, and all of a sudden, the next thing you know, you don't have the right color. You got too light a color. I'm going to darken the top some more. Across here, I want it to be darker at the top and fade down into a lighter blue as we come down. I'm going to put some clouds in here, and I'm painting around these mountains right now. I'm going to touch in just a smattering of alizarin. I'm going to put that in here to sort of give a little bit of atmospheric perspective, it's called. When things get further away from you, they start to turn purple or blue. If the sky is not blue, they will turn a little color that shows a little cool, particularly in a winter scene. These things will fade a little bit to a lighter, more of a little bit of purple in them, a little bit of reddish purple, something like that. All right, let me see here. I think I've got pretty much that done. Let me see now. That's about the colors of my blue sky in this original photo. I'm not going to wash out my brush yet, even though I probably should. I'm going to just try to get a nice amount of pure white paint on here, and we're going to start putting in a few of these clouds over here. You see, as soon as I put that white on, it just pulls the blue right off of it. So we're painting wet on wet, which means that your paint picks up whatever's underneath it and uses that. And so we're getting a few Nice clouds. I'm going to wash this brush out. It's still got way too much blue in it, and it's affecting my white too much. All right. Since I haven't done this painting before, I don't know exactly how it's going to react, so I try to do it on the fly here. A good trick with this brush is like this is to fill them. If you can see that, you see how that's filled? I did it by dragging it through the paint this way. And we'll put that in, and we're going to get some nice cloud work going on now. Okay, so there's some clouds. A lot more clouds than I had before. And part of it was because I had so much blue in this brush that it was just overriding even the white that I put on my brush right out of the tube. All right, let's take one of our little bitty fan brushes here and see if we can soften this a little bit, make these clouds much softer. I could use that big flat blender brush if I wanted, but it does leave pretty big streaks in here, and I want these to look softer and don't want them to have such big brush strokes in them. And a brush like this, it's really a watercolor brush. It's a Robert Simmons watercolor brush, but it's a fan brush that has really soft bristles that I can soften that up so I really get that nice look of softness in these clouds. And I like that. I'm going to come back and put just a little more of these white tips on here in some areas, and just like that. And then as I come back and blend those in, they'll be a little bit whiter, a little bit brighter. Maybe if I don't brush them too hard. You got to brush them very, very lightly. Okay, so that's good enough. Yeah, let's see. I think I want to have some of them touch down here, touch these mountains. Where we go into the mountains. All right, all right. Hi, Sue. Yeah, I have used my fingers from time to time to paint clouds. It gets rid of the brush edges. You're right. I've tried that before. Maybe I'll just do that for you and see what it looks like here. See if we can get some. Still get some marks that. Maybe a little too much paint in there, but it does leave a nice texture on the canvas. And again, it does get rid of the brush marks. It just leaves finger marks, fingerprints. All right, and I'll come back and what do I do with my little brush? I just touch that up a little bit so I don't have heavy-duty brush marks or fingerprints or anything there. There we go. Got a little more white clouds there. They look like they're a little more voluminous. They're not quite as two-dimensional as I started with. I'll thin this out just a little up here. All right, that's enough of that. Enough for the clouds, enough for the background. Yeah, it does make it more atmospheric, and having that if you can get three values in anything, in your clouds, if you get light, medium, and dark, you start showing depth. You show three-dimensionality, which is why so many artists talk about values. If you don't think about values in your paintings, you do paintings that are just flat, and they're not very, they look flat. You don't see any three-dimensionality in them at all. All right. I'm going to take one of my flat brushes here and take a little bit of this white with just a tad of blue in it. Not much blue, but just enough that I can get a a bit of a tone that's certainly different than the sky. Start up here, and we'll start putting in some brush strokes that represent this big mountain here. Needs to have just a little bit of more tone in it than that. Because we have a strong sun coming from the left. Probably can't even see that on the camera, I don't think. But let me put a little bit more shadow in some of these. Like in here, maybe I'll put a little shadow there. And that may be too much, but I can always come back and put some over that. And sort of blend them together here. A little bit of bluishness here. Just want to distinguish it from the sky so you can tell that's something different. It's not a cloud or something hanging up there. Touch a little black will give me a little bit of gray color, which will help in some of these areas. The gray will start identifying more texture in there. I'm just putting an undercoat on here right now. It's just sort of a layer that lets me identify what goes in this area. And so by just lightly layering a slightly grayer color or slightly bluer color over this, you can start getting definition of these mountains way back there in the distance. I don't know what these mountains are, what the name of them is. I didn't really get that much definition from the photograph that Jack Bell posted, but if you like his work, he's got a beautiful website, he's got beautiful photographs, he sells calendars, and you can go check out his work, and he's given me the permission to use his photos for my paintings. I really appreciate that, so I want to give him credit and make sure he knows I'm thankful for being able to use some of his work in creating some of my work. It's always fun to have people allow you to use their creative work to help your creative work. So I'm just sort of laying in some blues here that help define these mountains. The blues are what's giving us some of the definition. And I'm going to have some trees over some of this anyway, so I'm not too excited about how perfect these things are. I just want them to look like they're mountains and they got some stuff going on in them. Use the darks to identify and define which side of the mountain is closer to the sun and that sort of thing. Blues and the gray, mix them up a little bit. So this flat brush kind of helps all that. And I want to put a little bit of snow in there in some areas. I think I'm going to try this palette knife here. Let's see if this is going to work. I don't know. It may not work very well. You have to have something dark enough underneath it to allow the white to show. And if I don't have enough dark under there, I'm not going to get the white showing that I would like to get. But now you can see where I've put that dark. All of a sudden I'm getting some, you can start seeing the snow because I'm putting now this white paint over it. Okay. Okay. One thing about it is sometimes you get carried away with these mountains in the distance, and if you overdo it with too much detail, it destroys some of your perspective. It basically makes it look like anything with more detail will come forward in the painting. So you don't want this to be so detailed that it looks like it's in front of the trees that are really in front of it. So you have to take that into consideration anytime you're putting on something like this where you're scraping in some texture. You want to make sure that it's not really too much texture or too strong of texture. All right, so that's going to work for that. Now the photograph shows a big line of dark trees just coming right along here. So I'm going to change that a little bit. I'm going to make a row of some mist back there. And what am I going to use to do that with? Let's see. Probably I'm going to take this alizarin crimson and with my Prussian blue, get a little bit of a bluish color there, and when I put that on the canvas, it's going to pick up that liquid white that's under there. And so I'm going to just put in some things that look like trees back here, using my brush to just push up. Okay, and let the white come in more, let it overtake, change it, turn the brush over and pick up some more. So this wasn't really in the photograph this way. These were all, I'm pretending these were all hidden by the trees that are going to come in front of them. So they're there, I just couldn't see them in the photograph, but I made up my mind they were going to be there. So that's what you call a little artistic license. Okay, now take my big brush, clean it out here, and I'm going to do a little misting here at the bottom of these, maybe even you know how to do the misting. You have to just bang on the canvas. This is helping put some depth in this painting as well, because it's making it look like it's back further than just if I just put a line of dark green trees over this. All right. So when I put my line of trees in front of this, they're not going to be so dark that they cover everything up. They're going to be, I'm going to leave gaps between them so that I have the ability to show you that background. Okay. All right, that's the background, the mountains, a little bit of the background trees, and it's time to start with my some of my trees now. In I guess they're still middle ground. You have to call them middle ground because they're still that far back in the painting. I'm going to get my sap green, some Prussian blue on my fan brush, and let's see, hold on, stop. I want some snow. I have to put on some more snow. I forgot to do that. I'm going to get another fan brush. Get me some snow here with my titanium white. I have liquid white on here already, but I want a little bit of snow that's going to be in this area underneath the trees. It's going to be in this area here. And these trees are going to come down and get into that snow. I'll just kind of fade it back into white here, back in the background, so that you know that's all sort of connected. Okay, so that's adding a little more depth as well because I'm changing the color, the value. And now as I put my green trees over this, I'll be stamping them in here and you'll be able to see through the trunks and you'll be able to see that background, which is why I did that first. Otherwise, I would never be able to show you that snow because I couldn't go back and paint it between the trees after I start putting them in. So, all right, so I got my other fan brush, sap green, Prussian blue together, a really dark mixture here. And we're going to just start across here somewhere with a tree that's like this. I'm going to put them in and run them all the way down to this area that's down here. I want some black in that too, maybe darken it even more. Prussian blue, midnight black, sap green. Maybe and throw a little alizarin in there. That'll give us a very darker color. So I'm putting these in and leaving some gaps in there so you can see what's going on behind them. Because they're coming forward, they're darker, right? We want them to show that they're closer to us. So we do that by making them darker, having a little more detail. These are just pine trees sitting out here in this scene. Some of them come down pretty far. Some. Okay, so I'm not building a big dark block of green across there, which is what I would do if I copied this photo slavishly. I would have a complete block of green across there, and I would block out everything behind it. But because I'm doing it this way, you're able to see there's another whole layer of trees that are further back, right? And so I'm just putting them in, and some of these areas I may want to make them closer together so that you can see that they are a really large bunch of trees back there. And all these have a little tree trunk of some kind on them. And so I can come back now and put some of those trunks in and blend them or push them further down into the snow. Midnight black, Prussian blue, and I'll put a few more darks on here in some spots. And so I've got trees that are, this looks like I got trees behind trees instead of just one row of trees across there, because I got different, some come down further, some go up higher. That's all part of a good design. All right, now what have I got to do? I've got to put in some little trunks. I think I'm going to do that with my script liner here. I could scrape some trunks in with my knife. Put a few white trunks in here in some places by just scraping down like this. You get a few. I don't know if you can see them that well. Like that. A couple more over here maybe. All right, and then the others I'm going to use my script liner and get some dark midnight black, maybe add a little bit of Van Dyke brown in there to get a little bit of a brown color. Really a runny mixture here on my script liner. Let's come in and put a few trunks down like this. Here's some areas like that, just sort of to tie them into the painting. So we don't have, so they don't look like they're just glued on out there. They're part of this painting. Here we've got some. I'm going to put a few more down like this. So now you're seeing I'm creating the depth for you here by putting in some trunks that are short, some trunks that are longer, and basically depending on how far I bring this trunk down, it tells you where that tree is in this field of snow back there. So some of them come all the way down, some don't, and So I'm just throwing in some more lines here that kind of help tell the story. Get some really dark colors and throw the dark colors that don't show up because the trees are already so dark. So if I put a dark trunk in there, you can't even hardly see it. All right, so now I have quite a stand of trees out there. And some of them I want to show you that they are putting off some shadow. We have a strong sun coming from the left. And it's so strong it's making a shadow on this big bank of snow here, and it's putting a light highlighting on the snow on the right side. But that means they're also in this snowbank, they're casting off some shadows in some areas. So let's see if we can put in a few things like this that kind of help tell us what's going on back here. Okay, there we go. We're putting in just a little bit of a shadow in some of these areas, so looks like they really do have three-dimensionality back there, and they're part of the snow that's in this field. They're connected. So by giving that amount of shade, amount of tone here, I'm able to also tell you that this is dropping down. Leaves a light up at the top, put a little bit of shadow under it, and all of a sudden it looks like that whole part of the thing is dropping down. This side over here is not dropping down, but it is kind of, this is sort of flat back in here. Give me a little more blue. I got some more blue I can put back in here. Yeah. Okay, so that's not bad. I'm going to leave it at that. I think if I keep messing with it, I'll make it worse. I don't want to make it worse. Maybe there's a shadow like right in here somewhere. Okay, about every one of those trunks have some sort of a shadow beside it, which tells you they're being lit up by the sun that's on the left. And they'll be making some shadows on the ground over here as well. All right, good enough. Yeah, Sue, exactly. Darker shadows make brighter light. That's one way to make the light show up, is by putting dark things around it, and that's very common. All right, so now we've got this snow that's sort of coming here, that I'm using this flat brush again. Sometimes I get stuck on these flat brushes and I just can't get off of them. They're so much fun. I could use, maybe should use my fan brush for this, because it makes nice sweeping. I got to get some more. I don't want green, I want some black. I got the green mixed in with my black over here. I have to clean that out, get it out of my brush. Okay. White with, I like some of these other colors. I'm going to put a little, get me a little yellow and maybe just a little bit of alizarin in there, and sort of tone this snow down just a little bit with, instead of making it just pure white everywhere, I'm going to put some color in it here in some areas. Put that in and then come back with some pure white and go over it and mix it up a little bit. I've watched a watercolorist that I follow paint snow, and sometimes he'll take a whole wet brush full of multiple colors, like pink and yellow, and just starts throwing them on the paper, and it represents snow. It looks like snow when you see it. You can't tell it's not. Okay, so to make this look like snow, we're going to have to definitely put some dark shadows on the right side. There is got some blue here. I'm going to there is a shadow that sort of runs over this way, like here in the snow, that helps to define the lay of the land, if you will. It's like a little snowbank sitting there somewhere. And we want that blue with some white in it. We want it to start showing up in areas along here. We want it to show up back here a little bit. It starts showing up, let's see, there's like this. I want these angles to be the way the sun is hitting. And as it comes down here, they start getting more like this. So these are sort of blending this snow this way, and then it has, as it gets further away, it has these little gaps in it that sort of they really go straight down. So it's what we're trying to imitate here is that these things this is sort of like a little drop off. And it drops off into this creek. But it has these little areas that sort of fingers that stick back up this bank, which tells you that this is a sloping sort of landscape here. This one comes all the way down, just gets lighter and lighter and lighter as it goes down until it hits the bottom of the creek. So brush strokes mean everything here. If you have them sort of vertical, you know this is dropping off. It's coming up like this and dropping down, which is why the vertical brush strokes tell us that. That piece there was too dark. But again, it sort of looks like there's maybe a split or something that runs down through here. We're getting some dark shadows in there. Sort of an accident, but I'll take it. So does that look like we've got a snowbank going up the hill here? And these are just really soft. I think it's faded out to the white, basically. We don't want them to be real harsh shadows. We want them to look like they're dropping off into they all sort of just fade into nothing there. Okay. So I'm using this Prussian blue as my key color to help this. Put a little more white back in here. Some areas need a little bit of brighter snow, like right in here maybe. Brighten it up a little. Even with a touch of this. I have to be careful using this ochre because it will start turning to green, and I don't want green snow. All right, so I'm getting some pretty decent things back there. There's a few more dark shadows that start defining this creek as it comes down here. Something like that. All right, now this other side of the snow bank here is really, it's almost white here, and then it fades off into a sort of a grayish, a little more grayish color. It doesn't look gray probably to you, and it doesn't really look that gray to me on the photograph, but this is for like darker shadows for the creek. Yeah, the creek, I haven't even started the creek yet, so I'm just sort of doing a negative painting here around this, and we'll put in the really dark, the dark blues that go in here for the creek. And then we'll define the bottom of that creek, and that will help to finish off the snowbanks that are on both sides. So I'm going to take this, my white that I have here, put just a fraction of black in it, and I want to take on my big fan brush, and we're going to start like right in here, and we're going to put in this sort of a, I think that's probably too gray, but maybe I still have that liquid white on here, and I can always put some white over that. A little bit too much dark in there, but it almost looks like that's in shadow now, which is not what I want. So let's bring back some more white and put some more white over this. I'm doing this to make it darker than the snow that's going to be going down to the water edge. Let me see here. So you're seeing me experiment with this for the first time, folks. I haven't tried this painting before. I've looked at the photograph and thought about it, but I have not tried it till now. Yeah, so that's, if I need to make that lighter, I think I can come back with another coat of white and make it lighter. But let me take this flat brush now and come in with some good titanium white, and we're going to start coming down here with some pure white. Now you're not going to see this white very well, but as soon as I put that creek in, I'm going to light that thing up. Again, these are vertical brush strokes that help define this little cliff here. Comes down, let's see, I want it to go back this way. So much of this is about making optical illusions. It's just, you know, you put paint on in certain ways, you put it on in certain places, and you leave it off in certain places, and it just fools the eye. I mean, so much painting is fooling the eye. All right, now before I get too far, I'm going to get my little thinner brush. I got a smaller flat here. This is a Trakell number 6 flat, and I'm going to get this water. I'm going to start putting in this creek here, and it does have some green in it in some areas. It's Prussian blue and green, but it's really dark back in here. Back in here, it starts like this. So I'm just kind of zigzagging back and forth, bringing it toward me, trying to make it a little wider as we go. As it comes toward us, make it slightly wider, wider, wider. I put just a touch of sap green in with that Prussian blue, but as it comes forward, I want it to get darker even. So I'm starting to pull more. The green that you may see there is really sort of reflections from what's going on behind it back there in these trees. So I've got these little areas that are sort of cut into the snow that leave a little bank. It's not just a straight line. And I got all this liquid white on the canvas, of course, which is making it change the color of the paint some more. Okay, this is a big blob of snow sitting here. Let's just color this all in here and see how we do. This over here is actually getting a brownish tint to it. Over here, so I'm putting some Van Dyke brown in there, maybe a little sienna. Something fell somewhere. I don't know what that was. So I've got a bit of this dark brownish, not the perfect color. I need more brown in it. But just sort of piling this in here and making it butt up against this snow top of this rock. This has sort of a curve like that. And we have a lot of this blue without almost pure blue. Thank you, Sue. Glad you like it. A little this in there. Let's take this and we'll start putting in this color. Where's the bottom of this reflect? Let's see, this is that. This is, I got the bank coming down and I have a reflection I want to make room for. So I'm going to put this over here like this and just sort of run it down like that. There's a reflection over here I want to make room for. So I'm doing a little negative painting here. Time. Well, we're just 50 minutes. Well, we're fairly close. Okay, so there's along this bottom here, there's a lot of areas that have snow kind of hanging down in it. There's dirt and there's all kind of stuff underneath this. But the water is sort of chugging right along and it's just sort of meandering toward us. These different colors. I want some more of this bluish color here that matches what's on the other side of this reflection here. All right, I think I've pretty well got that scoped in. So I have a rock with snow on top of it and then a reflection of the rock. That's what this is. And over here I've got the bank coming down. It's got some grasses, yellow grasses coming out of it, going down into the water, and then the water has the reflection of the looks like ice reflection almost of the snow. So it's an interesting composition to try to complete. Let's see if we can put a few of these little dark things back here to make it look like we've got snow coming over. Down here we've got a little bit of a, these are all sort of vertical things that snow kind of runs over. So I'm going to make them vertical and let that snow run over these places. Helps give it just a little more realism, I guess. More browns in here. So I'm putting the snow in first and then I'm putting the what's under it in next. So you see these little vertical marks I'm making are represents the bank underneath this snow. I'm not being too regular. I'm not trying to make them all look alike. I want them to look like we got a chunk of snow sticking out here in the water. All right, so again, now you can see the sun is coming. It's getting a little shadier as this curves down, and then it drops off into the water. That's the optical illusion I am trying for. And these are, I may want to put some more white streaks in there after a bit, I don't know. Try to see how this works. All right, so I've got that left side pretty much done. My right side, now this is making similar types of shadows under here that sort of stick up a little bit. They kind of push into the snow kind of comes out over them, and sort of run across there like this. We've got, these are like almost vertical straight up again. These are like that. And my this bank over here, I have a pretty sharp edge there. Even though it's not really dark, you can see that it's dropping down, or it looks like it's dropping down anyway, which is supposed to be almost vertical there. Okay, and now here we've got some things I want to put in that are a little bit back into the snow here. These. Oh, that's actually, here's where I want these things. Clean that brush out. Okay, Sue, you're going to try it. That's good. It's a bit of a challenge. I like to try to things that are a bit of a challenge, because there's plenty of easy stuff to do, and I like the challenge. That's why I paint both watercolors and oils, because if I did all one, I would be probably bored. And putting that in, I'm going to go get some dark sienna and put it at the bottom of this. Okay. That also, the angles I'm showing on this particular part also tell you this is almost a vertical side over here on the right, just because I got them going straight up. I'm going to come back and put a little bit of snow over the top of those so that it looks like they're being covered by snow. Right now I'm just kind of pushing up into that, and it's leaving a bit of a shadow, a bit of a reflection, not shadow, reflection here in the water. Right there. Pull some white into that. Using this little bitty brush. And so I'm putting in some of the darks, coming back, putting a few more lights over the top of it, and sort of making it look like we got some shadow going on there. And it really needs to be blended together a little more. I've got it sort of too much of a vertical. The shadow doesn't need to be vertical, it needs to be blended. So there, we're blending it a little bit. All right, so now this is coming straight up, and then we're coming out this way. So let's see, what did I use for that last? That was my trees. I'm done with trees. All right, that was this fan brush that I had put in this little bit of grayish color. And I'm making it go here like this. A little bit more black or something in that. black and white. I need that tan color, need that gray color is what I'm looking for here. So my vertical strokes here are going to tie into some of that. Again, these brush strokes are telling your eye what's going on here. Very light, very subtle, but that's what's going on. All right, so let me look at this again. This area on the left side, over here, I think it needs a little more darkness in there. I got a little dark on this brush. I'm going to throw in some of these colors from the trees back there. See if I can get a little more distinct shadow out of that. It's not dark enough to me. Okay, there we're getting a little more distinct shadow. The way it probably should look. Maybe I even need just a... Oh, this looks pretty decent back here. I'm going to stay out of it and not mess around too much. Up here, this area, how are we doing on time? We got an hour. Well, that's pretty good. I'm just about done with this. Blend some of this together. And make it so it looks more like a reflection. Some vertical brush strokes will help it look more like a reflection in all of these. That's one way you make it look like some reflections, is to pull vertical brush strokes down. All right, I think I'm going to leave that alone. It's not quite the tone. I'd like it a little bit darker, but it's pure white almost on this photograph. Let's see if I can see if I got a better. I'm going to change some of the areas to make it look like there's something going on there that's not a straight line. We've got some modifications in this bank where this is a very, very light gray color here, mostly white, a little bit of midnight black, and I'm able to give it this look that it's sticking out there and it's been sort of running over this white edge. All right, I think I'll stop with that. They're pretty well blended together here. Maybe a little bit more white over the top here. Yeah, just touching down some pure snow over the top of this pure white, and it helps that a little bit. All right, the last thing I do is this big rock here. On the bottom, on the top of it, we got left bank. Looks a bit darker. Oh, I get you, Sue. Yeah, thank you. Maybe I'll fix that now. It's one of the troubles I always have is trying to get the values dark enough when I'm trying to copy a photograph. I get done, I look at it, I say, man, I should have made that darker. I should have made more value change there. So you're seeing a correction here that helps with this optical illusion I'm making. Should go all the way back. It should be a darker back in the back. Get a little Prussian blue here, mostly white, but I'm just going over it again and adding a few more drops in there to make it darker. Yeah, that's looking better. Thank you, Sue, for that correction. Back here, we've got some. All right, I think that's pretty decent. While I got this blue in here, I'm going to see if I can get it into this rock over the top of this here. What's interesting, if you look closely at the shadows, or the reflections rather, you'll see that this particular rock has just a touch of reflected color in it. It has just a little bit of this yellow in there, ochre, as a reflected color from lights coming in, hitting that, and it's bouncing back and hitting this snow over this thing, which makes it, it's one of the ways of making three-dimensionality, is to get, you know, shadows that you make have different colors and different tones, and you got to take into account reflected light and bounce light. Okay, now let's see. Bottom of that rock, the top of that rock here, that's just all pure snow. That's just all pure titanium white. I'll put that on, you won't be able to see it probably, unless I put just a touch of gray in it. Picked up that watercolor and just threw it right on there. Way to go. Let's get out of that. Put some more white on here. Should have put that in before I put my water in, shouldn't I? That's all right. We'll fix it. There's that. Now how are we going to make that show up? Well, we're going to put some dark under it. That old rock color, my browns and blacks, it's going to come right in here and pull it down into the water. And it's rough. It's going up into the snow in some areas. Down into the water. Yeah. And then in the water we've got the reflection of this, which is even darker than the rock itself. And the white on there, just letting it fade out. Okay. So what we have is some light color on this side of the shadow. And we have some gray color on this side of the shadow. And then we're going to put a line of demarcation where the bottom of this rock comes, like right in here. Got to get something really black, dark black. So it looks like a rock. Okay, and then a light touch of my blue here in my up here to give this a little more tone and dimension. Got to give it some three-dimensionality. It doesn't have quite the three-dimensionality I want. Okay. Kind of looks like a rock sitting there. I think I need just a little more blue to distinguish this surface, show that it's darker. Maybe too much, so we'll just sort of run it out here a little bit. Take the paint out of the brush, lighten it up just a little. All right, I think I might be able to do a little more on this, but I think that pretty much shows what I wanted to show for this painting. And let's see here, I'm going to go put my name. One of the things I'm going to try, I haven't tried this with oil paintings for quite a while. I'm going to take this black, this gray color, and see if I can put just a little splatter in here in some areas. Got big areas that look like there's nothing going on. And so that will just help those areas out a little bit. I do it on watercolors all the time, but I rarely try it on oil paintings. All right, it says my name. It's a little hard to read, but that's okay. Wet on wet, folks, wet on wet. One little thing, if my friend Lindy was watching, she would say, don't forget the birds. Let's put a couple of little things up here that look like there might be something flying around up there. I don't have anywhere to rest my hand. It's a test for stability here. How am I going to do this? I may have to move those out and try something better. I don't know. One over here. I don't like them. Maybe I'll take them out, but I'm going to say I'm done for now, folks, and think that's all I want to show you today. I hope you like this. Hope you give it a try, and if you do, let me know how you do. This is Yellowstone. It's an area in Yellowstone photographed by Jack Bell Photography. And so get the images off my website. The link should be below. And give this a like and share it with your friends if you like it. And if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. And till I see you next time, this is Larry Hamilton saying so long for now. Bye-bye. Zoom this in a little bit here. Those birds look pretty bad. I think I'm going to have to fix them. Oh, trick here. Take these. Okay, I just kind of took them out with a there, do that. Get my little fan back here, my fan brush. Just sort of I need to do that when I've got something to rest my hand on. Okay, there we go, folks. I think that's going to do me. Bye again.